Hi everyone, I hope you are well. Welcome to this week's vlog. This week is going to be slightly different. As you may know, last week I had a massive shop update. If you've seen any of my previous vlogs, you will no doubt have been talking about it. So this week I have been crazy busy packing all of your orders. Thank you so much to anyone that has purchased anything. I have been incredibly busy, which is so wonderful, and I'm trying to take the pressure off myself a little bit with YouTube. So I have already filmed next week's vlog, which is going to be a full vlog, and this week I thought that I would show you some kind of behind the scenes process of me painting while I answer some questions. So I put a little call out on Instagram and to my patrons, and I've also looked at the comments here on YouTube. So yeah, I am going to get straight down to it, right down to it, straight into it. So one of my patrons actually said that the first question I should answer should be, how am I doing this week? Which is really sweet of you, first of all. Thank you, Claire, for asking. Yeah, I'm doing okay. I'm having a low energy week. I'm feeling very tired. But I am already seeing the benefits of looking after myself a bit more. I've been really busy with the shop update and kind of the tail end of a few client projects. So I'm keeping myself busy in a non-stressful way. And I have definitely found more time for painting and drawing, which is exactly what I was hoping I would be able to do. Yeah, in case you didn't watch my last vlog, I'm trying to focus on self-care and looking after myself, and being mindful of my mental health at the moment. So yeah, lots of painting, which has been really nice. How did you get your sales to pick up on Etsy? I actually have a full video talking about Etsy and making 1,000 orders and my tips, which I'll link in the cards. But as a general rule, I think the more you have listed, the more you will sell. That was a big thing that took me ages to realise. And make sure that your work is kind of cohesive, whether that's colour palette or subject matter, or make sure that you have something to say. What is your best seller? I have a couple that have been pretty neck and neck. The first is it's called Wild Abandon, and it's a naked lady running through a field of flowers, which was one of the first prints I ever put up in my shop, and it is consistently still one of my best sellers, which blows my mind. And the second is one that I did this year called Hands In, which is a feminist print that I did for International Women's Day that has matched my previous bestseller. It's matched my previous bestseller in the 6 months that I've had it up compared to the 3 years that the other one's been up, so that has been pretty crazy. I was also asked a lot if I have any tips for starting an Etsy shop, in particular whether it's worth doing a launch date and telling people about it, or just posting things when they're ready. When I started, I only had like 2 or 3 things I was going to sell. I honestly, at that point, I wasn't even really considering myself an illustrator, so I definitely didn't put very much thought into it, honestly. I think for me it was more important to just get one up there, because I basically started it so that family and friends could buy a few cards with my designs on them. I think that if you already have a following, it would definitely be worth doing a launch date. Even if you have a following that's on the smaller side, I think you would be surprised. But yeah, if you're just starting out, or if you're feeling stressed about it, then I would recommend just listing products when you have them. As someone who has just done a major shop update, which is slightly different, but I just added 50 new things to my shop, and it is a lot of work to do all in one go. So I think actually adding things little by little could be a really great way of slowly building up your shop. And also, of course, you can sell things while you're working on other things. I think the first 2 or 3 years of running my Etsy shop, I listed things as soon as I could. Basically, as soon as I had one thing ready, I listed it. And that is a strategy that really worked for me when I was starting out. Now moving forwards, honestly, my shop update was really successful. I had a really positive response from people, which is amazing, and I'm so grateful for. So I think from now on I'm probably going to be leaning more towards a shop update kind of strategy, but I have no doubt that I will also just kind of list things as and when I have them. Tips for starting an Etsy shop. I think the single biggest tip I could give you, and I think I might have already said this video, but just do it. Believe in yourself enough to just list it. If you're thinking of Etsy in particular, I think you only lose like 15p for listing one thing, so you don't really have a lot to lose and you potentially have a lot to gain. So believe in yourself. Your work is good enough, no matter what imposter syndrome may or may not be telling you. Just go for it. What is your favourite thing about being an artist? I mean, I know it's a really obvious one, but honestly, just being able to draw for a living is definitely, that's the number one. That's got to be the killer for anyone that is a working artist. I think it's the reason why I do what I do, and it's the reason why I love doing what I do. I am constantly and consistently blown away that I am somehow in a position where people seem to keep paying me to draw things. It's a complete privilege, and I feel fortunate every single day that is somehow my job. I think also because I started drawing as therapy originally, and art and creating things is so key in my life to managing my mental health and looking after myself. So being able to do therapy for work is amazing, and I think it's the reason why it's a sustainable career for me personally. The next question is, how do you print high quality cards or art prints, and do you have any recommended paper types or weights or printers? So I actually started out my Etsy shop by buying a fine art printer. I bought an Epson that I had a lot of problems with, but it did print really good quality prints when I could get it to actually print. So that meant that I could just get an order and then print it and ship it instead of having to bulk buy prints. But as my shop has grown, I have definitely invested in most of my prints now. I have a stock that I order in. I'm just testing switching to a new printer, so I can't really talk about print producers yet, but I'm working on a whole video just on that for my favourite UK-based printers. But as a general rule, paper weight, I would go for something that's over 200 GSM, and I personally only like matte prints. I don't like using glossy anything, because I don't like how it feels. Honestly, I think it's because most of my work is either done digitally or it's a watercolour or gouache painting, so I kind of create them with a matte finish in mind. I've just never liked glossy art prints or stickers, really. I much prefer matte, so I always go for like uncoated paper. And hopefully I'm moving to completely recycled paper as well, but again, more on that very soon. How do you start an illustration career? I don't know how to really answer that. I don't really feel like I can say how you do start an illustration career. I can only really talk to my experience, but for me, I had a very odd roundabout route into illustration. I started drawing as therapy after a nervous breakdown. I talk about this in more depth in many of my other videos, but yeah, long story short, I started drawing for myself and drawing things that made me happy, and started sharing that on Instagram, and it kind of snowballed from there, really. So start putting your work out there. The next question is kind of leading on from this, which is, do you have any tips to beginners wanting to start out on an art career? And yeah, I would say that you can't really stress the importance of doing work that actually matters to you enough. I think a lot of the time people can get swept up in looking at what's doing well, like what other people are finding success with, and they get swept up in that and then don't actually think about the kind of work that you want to be making. And I am a firm believer that if you make work that you're passionate about, it's better. And in any creative industry, which you will probably know, you get hired to make the work that you've already made. So making work that you love means you are more likely to get hired to make work that you love, which I am all for. On a practical level though, just make sure that you are drawing constantly, all day, every day, as much as you can. This is the easiest way to figure out if you're actually invested in it as a career, if you can actually stomach doing it every day, and B, figure out what your style is and what your voice is and what you actually want to say with your work, which is really important as well. The next question is, what paints do you use? At the moment I am completely obsessed with Holbein acrylic gouache. I started off with a few tubes and then I graduated onto a full set, which they're my current faves. I'm completely obsessed. And the next question is also kind of related, which is, do you have to choose one medium to be recognisable? No, I think is the short answer. For me, my style is more about the way that I draw and not what I use to draw. Obviously, I think that we all have preferences as creatives, but I don't think that you have to pigeonhole yourself into only using one medium for the rest of your life to be successful. So yeah, I am a huge proponent of trying out new art supplies and constantly finding new things to create lovely work with. At what point did you realise you could support yourself full-time as an illustrator? This is a tricky one, and I've been trying to think back to the precise moment. I think once I could pay my rent for 3 months in a row just from illustration work, that was a big moment, definitely. But I think getting the Adobe Creative Residency and getting a year, if you don't know what the residency is, it's a year's paid work on your passion project, which is amazing, and I'm going to put the link in the description. That was a definite turning point because I knew that I was going to have a year's salary, and by that point I already kind of had regular client work, so I think that was the point where I was like, okay, I think moving forwards I can definitely, I can rely on this, which was very exciting. The next question is, how do you find inspiration? One of the biggest things for me is books. I'm a huge book nerd. I have a load of old books, and I have so many art books, and if I'm feeling stuck then I find myself flicking through art history books and I always find some inspiration. But for projects and things like that, I mean, Pinterest is my go-to, really. I love trawling through Pinterest generally, and if I have a particular project in mind or a style that I want to kind of do some more work on, Pinterest is definitely my go-to. I have so many boards. I think Pinterest is an amazing resource because I find myself clicking on a pin and then you scroll down to the related pins, and then by the time I've gone down a couple of rabbit holes, I find myself with inspiration for a completely original, unrelated drawing or idea. That really helps to kind of spark off inspiration. And the next question is kind of related, which is, who inspires you? I have so many, I'm fortunate to have so many friends that are wonderful illustrators, and I get a lot of inspiration from the illustration community on Instagram. People like Lee Ellickson, Natalie Byrne, Apple Cheeks, oh my gosh, so many, Jacqueline Colley, Bodil Jane. I'm gonna put some more links up on screen, but I am so inspired by all the amazing artists that are existing in the world and sharing their work with the world. That's probably one of the biggest ways I find inspiration as well. Did you study art at uni or college? No, I didn't. I'm completely self-taught and Skillshare taught and YouTube taught. I just kind of started drawing for fun and snowballed from there really, but no, I don't have any training, which can be a good thing and a bad thing, I think. Tips on finding your style. I think if you're starting out right from scratch, the first thing I would recommend is reading Find Your Artistic Voice by Lisa Congdon. She's a phenomenal illustrator and a phenomenal, that's really hard to say, phenomenal person, and that is a fantastic book to help you find your style. And also all of Austin Kleon's books. I'll put a few more links in the description as well. But as a general rule, I think you just have to make a lot of work, because it's as much finding out what you don't want your style to be as it is figuring out what it actually is, which is tricky. I'm also a firm believer that your style is not a destination, it's not a box that you can tick once you get there. My style is constantly changing and it depends on what my tastes are, but that doesn't mean that it's not worthy of sharing with people. I hope this has been useful and interesting to you. If it has, please consider subscribing to my channel. I post a video every Thursday. Big thank you to you for being here and watching this. If you can think of any other questions, please drop them in the comments as well, because I am going to be doing another Q&A really soon. And of course, thank you to my amazing patrons. I feel so privileged and fortunate to have such an amazing group of people supporting my work, and there are lots of new faces over on Patreon, which is really, really exciting. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week. Bye.